Greetings, everyone. In the last video, we did indicate that ZEP holders are not fighting the African government for its decision not to renew the permits. Then there were lots of questions that were then asked. Um, so we need to clear this confusion so that we all understand. I am Mabuto Nicholas Mapena. Please like this video, circulate, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. The court case that is coming on the 11th, I think it's 11th of April to the 16th. I'm not very sure of the days, but it's mid-April. It's a Helen Suzman Foundation court case on behalf of the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders. Helen Suzman Foundation is a South African foundation. It is joined in the court by other civic organizations that are also South African, who hold the view that there was no consultation in respect of the decision not to renew the Zimbabwe exemption permit. So Helen Suzman Foundation is not a Zimbabwean organization or a foundation, it is South African. There are other South Africans, progressive South Africans for that matter. Some are in the ANC, SACP, COSATU, and other progressive formations who do not agree with the decision that was taken not to renew the Zimbabwe exemption permits. They might not have gone to court. They are using other avenues to negotiate so that ZEP holders are able to stay longer than the 30th of June 2023, as per the announcement by government. So when in the video, we then said ZEP holders are thankful, and this is factual, that is ZEP holders in the main are thankful for the hospitality granted to them by the South African government in 2010. Yes, of course, there are others that would seem to be fighting the South African government, but the majority of the people that we represent, they are not fighting the South African government. Their desire is for the South African cabinet to have a change of heart and allow them to continue residing in South Africa on humanitarian grounds. Because what they are advancing, which is again factual, is that the conditions that existed in 2010 to grant the permits still exist or are now worse. That is the economic conditions. Second point that they are raising is that they've been part of the South African economy for more than 13 years, and they've contributed to its growth. So these are basic issues, which are critical, of course, that people are raising. So when we then say ZEP holders are not fighting the South African government, it does not necessarily mean that we are saying the government took a right decision, no one should appeal the decision. No. We are saying because the ZEP or the DZP in 2010 was a product of negotiations, holders of ZEP through their leadership are negotiating, assisted by progressive forces who are South Africans. And we then said, if the Helen Suzman Foundation court case, or let me put it differently, if the court rules in favor of the ZEP holders in the Helen Suzman case, naturally, ZEP holders will celebrate. That's basically what we've been saying all along. They will certainly celebrate If it then rules otherwise, obviously people will accept the decision, but people will not be happy. So we wanted to clarify this point, so that those that were raising then in these questions to say, but you are taking our government to court, you have never taken your own government to court. And in any case, which we need to clarify, South Africa is a constitutional democracy. We need to clarify this. If people are not happy, because everyone in the Republic of South Africa is protected by the Constitution, a person has a right to go to court. We have seen members of the African National Congress going to court, taking their organization, the ANC, to court. They remain members of the ANC. It does not necessarily mean that when ANC members go to court, they will have forfeited their right of being members of the African National Congress. That's not the case. Yes, of course, the ANC in its internal processes has mechanisms of dispute resolution. If there are disputes that emerge within the organization internal, for members to address them without necessarily going to court. Equally, those mechanisms within the confines of the law exist for the holders of the Zimbabwe exemption permits. The majority of us continue to engage government and other progressive forces to say, is it possible for government to review its decision, notwithstanding all the numerous challenges that South Africa is facing? We've spoken about all these challenges, the economic challenges, unemployment. I was listening in Parliament, the debate on the president's speech that over 12 million young people are not working. We acknowledge all these challenges that are there. But equally, we are saying holders of ZEP, they are indeed, they've been indeed part of the economy in South Africa. And why I said in the video that ZEP holders are thankful is that the granting of special permits presented opportunities for quite a number of ZEP holders, as we were explaining in the last video, that others have upgraded their skills. When they got the Documentation Zimbabwe project DZP, people registered to study to further their studies. Some of them started moving from 2014 to critical skills because their skills are now needed in South Africa, which they acquired in South Africa. We know of the abuse of the workers, particularly domestic workers, farm workers, and many others. That will be forced to work long hours, paid very little because they are undocumented. And the granting of this, and we call these vulnerable workers because they are vulnerable. If you are not documented, you are told you can be dismissed at any time. I was talking to one comrade, a Zimbabwean, who's not documented, works for a certain company, was saying they work long hours. They are paid little. They do the same job with those that are documented or South Africans or documented, doing the same work or doing the same job. The undocumented are paid very less, while others are paid a normal salary in terms of the minimum wage, or even higher than what the minimum wage says. So that's this discrepancy, and this is what the distortion in the labor market that the Minister of Labor, Comrade Thulas Nxesi, has been talking about. So the granting of these permits in 2010 ensured that these migrant workers could negotiate for better wages. Of course, not all of them won because a workers' strike requires all of us to participate for a workers' victory. But the majority were able to negotiate and take their employers to court. So we're saying in this context that the granting of special permits presented these opportunities. And as I conclude, what we then said, because we were discussing this, responding to a particular question, which of course has raised a lot of questions, we said it will be wrong, therefore, for any holder of ZEP if the decision does not go in the favor of the ZEP holders, to then be boastful, to use this word, and say we've been staying undocumented, we'll revert back to staying undocumented. And we're saying it is incorrect, it is an African to say such. Yes, the reality is that you have more undocumented migrant workers in South Africa, and that if the decision is not reversed or is not reviewed, you will have more that were holders of ZEP that will continue to reside in South Africa undocumented. And we said we should not be boasting about this. It's a reality that we'll have to confront. This is why we always talk of what we call the White Paper on International Migration, as gazetted in 2017, that it recognized, which we said in the last videos, that is now being thrown away. New Immigration and Citizenship Act are coming into effect as adopted by the ANC at its conference. But if you read through the White Paper on International Migration, it deals with the reality, that the reality is that you have people of low skin within the SADC region that flock to South Africa. Then the question which the white paper raises and the answers is, how then do you manage migration? How do you respond to this migration crisis within the SADC region? And we have spoken about the solutions that it proposes, which of course is being reversed. So we thought it's important that we raise this issue. In the next videos, we've been asked by the researchers as part of their academic work who want to know more about the documentation challenges faced by domestic workers. So we will start during apartheid to deal with the question of domestic workers, mainly from the SADC region and Zimbabwe, their challenges that they face, the documentation that they've been using up to date, and what are their challenges in terms of moving to other visas if this decision is not reversed. So we will assist in the academics that have asked us to record such videos, and we will also in the next videos discuss, as per request again by one comrade, that we need to discuss on how we should develop the SADC region economically, so that not everyone in SADC will flock to South Africa. We have always said that the reality at this stage is that migration is one way down to South Africa. You will not get a South African migrating to other countries. So we will be discussing that. The comrade requested this. Please, as I said earlier on, circulate this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Otherwise, have a great day. Goodbye.